Hello and welcome to Lyra Nara. And in today's video we're going to talk about a very important part of your body that is called a lymphatic system. We also like to call it a tree of life, and you will see why. That is unfortunately not very often talked about, but is one of the most crucial systems in your body that keeps you alive and healthy. It's literally the drainage and cleansing and filtration system for all of the toxins in your body, and therefore it is vital. It's crucial for energy production, so your cells have enough energy so they don't die. And it's also very important for all of the other systems in your body and the organs to remain healthy, your cardiovascular system, etc. So your lymphatic system really needs to be in shape in order to remain healthy and to fight diseases. And in today's video we give it the attention it really deserves and show you how it works and how to reactivate the lymphatic system and keep it healthy. So let's dive right in and learn more about the lymphatic system and how important it is to overall health. I would like to start by talking about some facts that you might not know. Did you know, for example, that 99.9% of people throughout the entire world do not know that every cell has its own sodium and potassium pump, which generates the electric energy necessary for life? That we have a lymphatic system which is 3 times larger than our blood circulatory system? That about 98% of people in the US alone are breaking one or more of the mental, nutritional or physical elementary rules of health, and as a result 9.8 out of 10 people have heart diseases or cancer, or they die due to premature aging. Also that in 2000, every 2 weeks, more than 70,000 men, women and children died of cancer or heart diseases, and that this number is equivalent to the destruction in human lives of 1 atomic bomb every 2 weeks. Also that the highest rate of sickness in the US is caused by wrong nutrition with an excess of proteins, a lack of mental and emotional hygiene, stress, sedentarism and overdoses of drugs, as well as a disregard of life's natural rules. And those are all systemic mistakes induced and maintained by the major 10 corporations that provide our food, as well as the 10 major pharmaceutical companies which do business, unfortunately, very often at the expense of our health and life. Did you also know that in 1977 already the government of the USA did a research to establish the dietary goals for people living in the US? And they stated the following in this research, that too much fat, sugar, salt and proteins are linked directly to heart diseases, cancer, obesity and stroke, among other killer diseases. 6 of the 10 leading causes of death in the US have been linked to our diet, and that was a direct statement from Governor George McGovern. Also, the toxic environment, the toxic nutrition, the incorrect breathing we are practicing, the sedentarism, all of this clogs up our lymphatic system, which is the major drainage, cleansing and filtration system in our body. And this all with devastating consequences, as you will see. Why do we call the lymphatic system the tree of life in this presentation? Well, because the lymphatic system is like a tree with branches that go up inside of your head, roots that go down into your legs and feet, and a trunk which is the thoracic duct. And its major function is to vacuum pack, so to speak, the cells of each vital organ so that blood can bath each and every cell and thereby nourish and oxygenate them in order for them to enter the glycolysis cycle and create life energy, which is also known as ATP energy. So what are the functions of the lymphatic fluid? Well, it brings the fluid from tissue spaces back to your blood. It collects and filtrates away proteins and large particulate matter from intracellular spaces and your bloodstream. It also, like the blood capillaries, is permeable so that matter exchange can take place. Lymphatic fluid also collects and filtrates at the lymphatic nodes level cellular debris, pathogens, mutated cells, hormones, proteins, as well as undigested lipids. The filtrated fluid is reintroduced back into your bloodstream, and the lymphatic fluid is very similar to blood plasma. And if your lymph does not work properly, you will never be healthy. What do we mean when we talk about a healthy vacuum state then? Well, along the 6,000 miles of blood capillaries, the blood proteins and water normally escape the bloodstream via tiny pores. And the rate of this process can dramatically increase during shock or stress or poisoning due to toxic food and pharmaceutical drugs, injury or heavy exertion. It takes oxygen to turn on the sodium ions and potassium ion pumps in every cell, which then in turn generate electricity that gives your eyes the power to see, your brain the power to work, and your legs the power to walk. Through approximately 24,000 miles of lymphatic vessels, lymphatic fluid circulates in between cells, removing escaped blood proteins, debris, water, and maintaining thus the cells in a so-called vacuum state. And the one-way check valves keep the lymph fluid moving along in one direction. Only in this dense, dry state the cells get the nutrients and the oxygen they need to work properly. And only in this condition there is no pain, no inflammation, no energy loss, no cellular degeneration, and you can remain perfectly healthy. Diseases and death occur when excess fluid penetrates between the cells, creating thereby an excess of sodium ions, with the result of a lack of oxygen, increased acidity, energy loss, and free radicals. And this can also be described as a swamp state, therefore. This condition is also known in medical terms as internal drowning, and you can die within the next 24 hours because of the energy generators, the natrium-kalium pumps, which are shutting down. Dr. Arthur Guyton, the father of the most accurate physiology concept, explained how this mechanism between blood and lymph works, enabling health or leading to illness and death. Next, we need to understand proteins. To have healthy cells, the body must be able to maintain a negative subatmospheric state of vacuum, as we've mentioned already, meaning that between the cells there must be only as much fluid as necessary to fill the crevices around the cells and not become a swamp. The red blood cells are concave shaped like lenses and negatively charged, and the blood vessels inside walls are also negatively charged, and due to the repelling phenomena between red blood cells and the blood vessels, the red blood cells can move without friction and they are really floating. The blood capillaries' permeability to blood proteins, especially to the smaller proteins like albumin, was scientifically demonstrated by Dr. Meyerson and others in the 1950s. He figured out that up to 50% of albumin can leave the bloodstream, and trapped proteins between the cells clump up, and it becomes difficult to remove these albumins. Proteins which have left the blood vessels are removed by the lymph, which is literally the savior of your health. And the proteins act against this healthy functional principle, which attracts excess of sodium ions and pulls water out of the bloodstream. As a result, the blood and the lymph viscosity tremendously increases, and the oxygen necessary to create cellular energy is scavenged, upsetting thereby the delicate balance between the natrium and kalium ions, which are the small electrical generators within our body. And this oxygen poor environment leads to glucose fermentation and blood acidity, and those are the culprits. The proteins are therefore the culprits, and also the savior is the lymphatic system. because the lymphatic system removes the trapped proteins, it relieves pain, and the healing process can be sped up and diseases can be reversed if your lymphatic system is working properly. Next, let's get a better understanding of the lymphatic pathways. So the lymphatic capillaries are microscopic, thin tubes made up of a single layer endothelium found everywhere except of your central nervous system, the cartilages, the bones, the bone marrow, and the cornea, which is in your eyes. It's a special kind of capillaries that exist in a small intestine also for fat absorption. Lymphatic vessels are made of three tunica, are larger and contain valves to prevent the backflow of the lymph and to secure the necessary peristatic and lymph flow. Lymphatic nodes are also bean-shaped, as mentioned already, of different sizes, and their function is to filter out cellular debris, pathogens, infected cells, and other materials which do not belong in your bloodstream. Lymphatic trunks are located in different body zones, such as your lumbar zone, your intestinal zone, your intercostal zone, broncho, mediastinal, subclavian, and jugular zones. And the collecting ducts, there are only two collecting ducts, the so-called thoracic duct and the right lymphatic duct. And the thoracic ducts are the largest and most important lymph collecting ducts, and they return the lymph fluid through the subclavian veins and back to your bloodstream, and 90% of the lymphatic fluid will enter the left thoracic duct in the left subclavian vein, and only 10% will drain into the right subclavian vein. Let's also get a better understanding of the lymphatic nodes within the lymphatic system. There are about 470 to 600 lymphatic nodes in your body, and nodes are bean-shaped and smaller than 2.5 centimeters. Nodes have an external fibrous capsule called the trabeculae, which extends inward and divides the nodes into different compartments. Nodes show two histologically distinct regions and are considered also an integral part of your immune system, the cortex and the medulla. Medullary cords contain B cells, T cells, and plasma cells, and the lymph sinuses contain macrophages. Nodes are the checkpoints and the filtration stations of lymphatic fluid on its way back to your blood vessels, and the nodes also monitor the body cells and the level of fluid. And your major node colonies are located in your cervical region, from your neck down to vertebrae C7, in the axillary region, which is your armpits, in the supratrochlear region, in your inguinal region, which is your groin, the pelvic region, the abdominal region, as well as your thoracic region. Which are the lymphatic organs within the lymphatic system? Well, the lymphatic organs are well defined and classified in primary as well as secondary organs. The primary organs produce mature immune cells, and these organs are the red bone marrow as well as the thymus gland, and the secondary organs receive the primary lymphocytes, and these organs are your tonsils, your spleen, and your lymphatic nodes. The spleen has a fibrous capsule and a trabeculae, contains lymphocytes, macrophages, and huge numbers of erythrocytes, and it shows two distinct areas, the white pulp around the central arteries and the red pulp in the venous sinuses and splenic cords, which are rich in macrophages for disposal of bloodborne pathogens. The spleen is also the site of lymphocyte proliferation. It cleanses the blood of aged cells and platelets debris. It stores the breakdown products for later reuse. It also stores blood platelets, and it is after birth the site of the fetal erythrocytes. The tonsils are the simplest lymphoid organs. They form a ring of lymphatic tissue around your pharynx. And they consist of the palatine tonsils, which are at the posterior end of the oral cavity, the lingual tonsil, which is a group of lymphoid follicles at the base of your tongue, the pharyngeal tonsil, which is in the posterior wall of the nasopharynx, as well as the tubal tonsils, which surround the openings of the auditory tubes into the pharynx. The thymic lobes contain an outer cortex and an inner medulla. The cortex contains densely packed lymphocytes as well as scattered macrophages. It lacks the follicles, so no B cells, and the medulla contains fewer lymphocytes and thymic corpuscles involved in the regulatory T cell development. And the lymphatic system can be brought out of balance and disturbed by toxins, of course, and stress and everything we talked about. And one of the major causes of stress are unresolved conflicts, emotional conflicts. The lymphatic vessels as well as the lymph nodes share the same brain relays and therefore the same psychosomatic conflicts, namely a moderate self-devaluation conflict causes an imbalance in your lymphatic system. In the cerebral medulla, the lymph vessels and the lymph nodes of the right side of the body are controlled from the left side of the brain, and the lymph vessels and lymph nodes of the left side are controlled from the right cerebral hemisphere. And the smooth muscles of the lymph vessels are controlled from the midbrain. Some examples of psychosomatic conflicts that affect your lymphatic system negatively. The cervical nodes that are located in your neck, they are affected by intellectual self-devaluation conflicts. The axillary nodes that are located in the armpits are deranged by the relationship self-devaluation conflicts. Your abdominal nodes become disturbed by self-devaluation conflicts that are associated with the abdominal area, brought on, for example, by cancer diagnosis such as stomach cancer, colon cancer, liver cancer, so cancers in your lower abdomen areas, where the abdominal nodes are actually located. The inguinal nodes are located in the groin at the band of the hip, and here a conflict which is the inability to endure a situation or a sexual self-devaluation conflict causes problems. For the popliteal nodes, which are located near your knees, a physical performance conflict can cause imbalance there. And there are two phases to any conflict, the conflict active phase and the healing phase. And during the conflict active phase, you will see necrosis, which is cell loss in the conflict-related lymph vessel or lymph node. And during the healing phase, the tissue loss is replenished through cell proliferation with swelling and edema, which is fluid accumulation in the healing area. And this process has nothing to do with an infection or cancer. It is a repair phase of the lymphatic tissue. The lymph nodes also swell without cell proliferation during a healing process that produces large amounts of metabolic waste and intracellular fluid. And these are no cancers again, but they are often interpreted as such due to a lack of understanding. Okay, so now that we understand the whole lymphatic system better and know what can disturb it and bring it out of balance, we can focus on how to improve our lymphatic system and keep it healthy. Because a poorly functioning lymphatic system is associated with the development of any chronic disease. And how can we improve and have a healthy lymphatic system? Well, first we must eat a mucusless diet with periods of fasting. Secondly, we need to learn how to breathe correctly. Third, exercise regularly, especially you can try the rebounder. Fourth, we can apply skin brushing and knipe hydrotherapy. Fifth way to improve our lymphatic system is lymph massage drainage. Sixth, very important one, galvanic therapy, and we talk more in depth about that one as well in this presentation. Seventh, the lymph and the liver herbal detox therapy. And eight, perspiration and infrared saunas can help. And in this video, we will address the most important actions to heal your lymphatic system, and with it the whole body. The mucusless diet with the fasting periods was already addressed extensively in our previous video, which is called Mysteries of Health and Vitality. I'm gonna link it in the description box below. If you haven't watched it, I highly recommend that you do so. Mucusless diet is very important for maintaining a healthy lymphatic system, but we will not go into depth into this subject because we've dedicated a whole entire presentation only to this subject because it's so important. So here we'll talk about breathing, about galvanic therapy mostly. So apart from a proper diet, correct breathing is one of the most important things you can do to maintain your lymphatic system in a healthy state, because your lymphatic system does not have its own pump, and therefore muscular movement clearly helps your lymphatic system to move and work properly, but deep breathing is equally important. Dr. Jack Shields, who is a prominent MD lymphologist in California, conducted a study in 1979 using cameras inside a body that showed that deep breathing causes the lungs to press into the thoracic duct, and this presses the lymph fluid into your bloodstream. When exhaling, the pressure of millions of check valves throughout the entire lymphatic system are being relieved, and the lymph fluid works then like a geyser. This increases the rate of toxic elimination by as much as 15 times compared to normal pace, and you heal as you bring more oxygen into your cells and eliminate more toxins. And this breathing art can heal cancer and many diseases, and even can help you lose weight and detoxify deeply. Just by breathing correctly, you can help your lymphatic system along a great deal. So how do you do it? You breathe deeply in through your nose and hold for 4 counts. Then you exhale through your mouth for 4 counts. As you get better at this, you can increase the time. For example, you can breathe in for a count of 5 and hold for 10 counts and exhale for a count of 20, etc. Exhaling for twice as long as inhaling brings more oxygen to your blood and activates the lymphatic system. It also regulates the carbon dioxide levels in your blood with 2 major health effects. The blood pH stays constant between 7.3 and 7.4, and all of your blood vessels become dilated and achieve their optimal size. If you perform deep breathing for just 5 minutes every hour, you will achieve a lot, and you can do this either while sitting or while lying down. And the effects are measurable immediately. You will feel more alert, more focused, more relaxed. You will stop panic and anxiety attacks. You will detoxify better. You will achieve better blood circulation and heal and feel better overall. Optimal breathing is 6 times per minute and not the 16 times per minute which we normally practice with our incorrect flat breathing. As mentioned, besides proper nutrition and proper breathing, one of the best methods to improve your lymphatic system and to keep it healthy is galvanic therapy. And in order to understand why galvanic therapy can help you that much, we need to understand how our cells work, more specifically the electrical potential of our cells. So since everything in our body relies on electrical signals, a breakdown in our body's electrical system becomes a real survival problem. And when you get an electric shock, it interrupts the normal operation of the system like a power surge, and the electrical processes are literally fried. And with so much electricity jumping around, you may believe that the body is really a power factory. But the fact is that a human body can only generate very subtle currents between 10 and 100 millivolts at 0.1 to 0.5 milliamperes. So the clue to any successful electrical therapy is therefore to get in resonance with these electrical signals and to repolarize the sick cells, which are monopolar, so they have lost their polarity. And life energy or ki or prana will freely and continuously flow throughout your entire body. Only then you will be healthy. Our body is a complex and carefully balanced superhighway of tubes that drives an unimaginable high number of electrical impulses every second, And this is only possible in a homeostatic or a balanced environment when electricity can be well conducted in order for it to carry the signals to the intended destinations. And the key to maintaining this conductive superhighway lies within the electrolyte household. Electrolytes regulate the nerve and muscle functions, as well as the body's hydration, the blood pH, the blood pressure, and the repair of damaged tissues. Various mechanisms exist in our bodies that keep the concentrations of different electrolytes under strict control. And we have already learned that the sodium and potassium pumps are the electric generators for our survival energy, and to allow and maintain the proper functioning, proteins and all other toxic particulates must be removed from your bloodstream, and the lymphatic system is the single complex organ that is able to perform this critical job. Many people also confuse galvanic therapy with other types of electrical therapy such as TANS or Zapper therapy or interference current therapy. And galvanic therapy is not like that. Galvanic current is generated by a galvanic element, which is a battery actually, and it is in the range of 40 to 150 milliamperes, and it flows continuously from the positive pole to the negative pole. It's really different from alternating currents, which you get, for example, from grids, and different from vibrational or pulsating currents such as intense PEMF, zappers, interference currents. Those are all sending frequencies to tease the body, but galvanic currents are free of frequencies and pulses, and they are applied to the human body through two electrodes with a negative and a positive pole, and thereby atoms become ions, so it's ionizing, and this all can only be achieved through galvanic current. Positive ions move towards the negative electrode, which is the cathode, and the negative ions move towards the positive electrode, which is the anode. And within your body, you will have an instant flow of ions, which move through the cellular membranes. And galvanic currents are harmonizing and stimulating metabolic processes. They correct cellular membrane potential, they energize, they balance, while frequencies devices excite and provoke the cells. So it's not the same thing by any means. It's actually quite the opposite. All healthy cells in our body work like small batteries with 70 to 90 millivolt membrane potential, where a permanent exchange between sodium and potassium ions takes place. And the cell's nucleus is positively charged and the cellular plasma is negatively charged. Cellular membrane is practically an osmotic dielectric which enables an exchange of positive and negatively charged ions. And the millionth times repeated ion movements are recorded in the brain, and after a while these become the command centers for your body. And the sick cells, the different toxins, the interstitial proteins or the lymphatic garbage are non-polar, and they lower the membrane potential down to 10 millivolts only. So you become seriously sick because of this reduced membrane potential, and you can even go close to death, and only galvanic currents can help you to quickly regenerate and save your life. So whichever condition you have, the treatment must start with galvanic therapy, whether it is chronic or acute. You will get rid of all of these conditions through galvanic currents because they imitate the natural currents in your body. And by applying galvanic therapy, ATP energy can be replenished, you will support thereby your well-being and your health, and you can live pain-free, you can regress inflammations, and you can better coordinate your body functions through your autonomic nervous system as well as your central nervous system. You can also boost your physical and intellectual performance and live in a stress-free oasis. Galvanic currents between 0.1 and 0.75 milliamperes stimulate ATP production up to 500 times while you are working. You can literally be healing because you can keep those electrodes on your body while you are doing other tasks. Injured, inflamed, sick tissue, also tumors have always also a lower resistivity, being non-polar of 200 to 800 ohms, compared with healthy tissue that is higher than 2,500 ohms. And this means that the sick tissue will be preferentially flushed by galvanic currents, with the immediate result of reducing pain and increasing the cellular energy, and thereby you will become healthy again. Cellular nourishment and waste excretion is regulated by the cellular membrane potential as well, that is controlled by the different electrolytes, so the ions. And the ion exchange, proper ion exchange means proper autoregulation and a healthy life. And the force behind a permanent ion flow is your lymphatic system, as we've learned. And therefore, with subtle galvanic currents, you can correct the ion flow and the exchange process, and you can remain healthy. And if you are interested in some of the best galvanic therapy devices on the market today, I'm going to post the link to the Veget Balance Home, that is meant also for private use, and the Veget Balance TheraPro that you can get exclusively at lyra.com in the description box below. So check them out. And here in these images you can see how galvanic therapy is applied. You always create a plus pole and a minus pole through which a very well-defined microcurrent is flowing, and you can use it for therapy and natural healing, for fitness and energizing, for wellness and relaxation. And you can use them in baths, as you can see as well, foot bath or whole body bath, or on the affected areas, for example your knees, your joints, your upper body, your head, wherever you have the ailment. So let's sum galvanic therapy up for you. It's great for fitness, for rehabilitation, for physiotherapy, or for boosting your performance, for your well-being, for stress relief, for relaxation, for regeneration, for working on your depressions or your insomnia, but also for therapy, so for pain relief. It's anti-inflammatory, it's great for tissue restoration and detoxification. You can also use it for cosmetology, so for facials, for better skin glow, for lifting without a scalpel, but also for deep detox and cleansing. It's fast acting, it's risk-free, it has no side effects, it's a soft natural therapy that you don't feel, it's non-invasive, it creates cellular repolarization as we've discussed, it replenishes the energy in your body, it corrects the cell membrane potential, and it's also therefore a great cancer support. It empowers the body's self-healing potential, it optimizes your metabolism, it improves the blood and lymph circulation that we're talking about in this presentation, triggers and supports also deep detox, it supports also faster wound healing and tumor necrotization. It's great for general regeneration, it's anti-inflammatory and antibacterial. Activates and balances also your nervous systems, the central nervous system as well as the autonomous nervous system, and is great for cell regeneration. It also mobilizes the deposits in your blood vessels and your joints. It stimulates the endocrine activity, harmonizes and vitalizes your whole body, opens up your ki and prana energy blockages. It balances the meridians and the energy flow. It balances also the electrolytes. It activates the nerve synapse and neuronal cell regeneration. It also supports scar-free wound healing and improves the quality of your skin. So a lot of beneficial effects to galvanic therapy. And as I've mentioned already, in the description box, there are going to be the links to two of the best galvanic therapy devices on the market today, the Veget Balance TheraPro and the Veget Balance Home. All right, and now it's time to sum it all up and see what we've learned in this video. First, lymphatic system is like a tree of life with exceptional important functions for your overall health and quality of life. As you've seen, the major functions of the lymphatic systems are: it brings the fluid from the tissue spaces back to your blood, it collects and filtrates away the proteins and other metaparticulates from the intracellular spaces and your bloodstream. The lymphatic fluid is also collecting and filtrating cellular debris, pathogens, mutated cells, hormones, proteins, as well as undigested lipids at the lymphatic nodes level. And the cleansed fluid is reintroduced back to your bloodstream. If your lymph therefore does not work properly, you will become sick, and if the proteins cannot be removed from your bloodstream within 24 hours, you will die. So the lymphatic system has a very crucial role to play in your health. It's also visible from the fact that the lymphatic system is 3 times larger than your blood circulatory system. It contains lymphatic fluid, lymphatic vessels, the lymph nodes, the lymph ducts, and the lymphatic trunk, and all of those are of course interconnected. And the lymphatic fluid drains into the subclavian veins and re-enters thus the circulatory system once it's cleaned. Ontogenetically, the lymphatic system is controlled by the medulla oblongata, and therefore psychosomatic conflicts that are related to the lymphatic system disorders are self-devaluation conflicts. And during the conflict active phase, the lymph nodes and the lymphatic vessels lose the cells, creating thereby ulcers. And after conflict resolution, the lost cells are being replenished, and this may lead to an inflammation or edemas or volume increase of the nodes, so they will swell up. And this is not cancer, but a sign of the ongoing healing process. To reactivate the lymphatic system, we recommend, of course, fitness, exercise, rebounder, deep breathing, mucusless diet that is very poor in proteins, so with very few proteins and fats. And finally, as the most important therapy, galvanic therapy. Because galvanic therapy detoxifies the lymphatic system and your connective tissue, it recharges electrically the toxins which are floating in a lymphatic fluid, facilitating thereby their discharge, so they will become more soluble thereby, and it will also boost the lymphatic fluid flow, and this will in turn increase the oxygen transport to your cells and activate the sodium-potassium pump that generate in turn more cellular energy. And finally, your healing process of many chronic diseases can start with galvanic therapy. Highly recommended, and as mentioned, links to 2 great devices for galvanic therapy in the description box below. With all that being said, I hope that you've enjoyed this presentation. If you have any further questions, please do not hesitate to contact us, shop@lyranara.com. Complete contact information, including our toll-free phone number, is going to be in the description box below as well for your convenience. If you've enjoyed this presentation, please also support our work by liking, sharing, and subscribing. And until next time, I hope that you stay healthy.